Meghan Markle has an extreme case of main character syndrome, basically a situation where somebody thinks they are the main player, the protagonist in the story of their lives and the lives of everyone around them.
David Foster and Catherine McPhee in Canada for their charity gala was not surprisingly a complete mess for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Meghan, look at this. She just can't help directing traffic on a red carpet, can she? When a picture tells the real story, the Fosters cannot stand Meghan and Harry.
90 seconds. That is roughly how long Meghan Markle lasted on that carpet before a 76-year-old man looked straight through her, walked past her outstretched hand, and left her standing there with a smile that had nowhere to go. She had arrived to run the evening. Within a minute of getting out of the car, she was telling the host of a charity gala where to stand.
I just get the sense that Meghan Markle just tries to do whatever she can to bring attention to herself and act like it's just so casual, but she's still attempting to do it. She also is still attempting to direct people because, again, this is a film production of her life, guys. So she needs to direct people as to where to stand because apparently a producer who is in his 70s and has been in the entertainment industry for years and years, he apparently doesn't know how to stand on the red carpet. He needs Meghan Markle to direct him because she's the ultimate director.
A man with 16 Grammys, 4 decades of red carpets, and his own name on the building. Like a stage manager shoving an extra onto his spot. And he didn't play. No greeting, no warmth, not a flicker of eye contact. He went past that hand, found his own spot, and got on with the last night of his life's work as if she were not standing there at all.
Meghan Markle chose to do the unthinkable on the red carpet. When I tell you that this woman loves to burn bridges because she had nothing to lose. She knows she's not coming back because David Foster is not doing these events anymore. This is the 40th year he's done this.
Watch her face in the half second afterwards. That is the good bit. That is the bit her people will spend all week trying to get scrubbed off the internet. For once, on camera, in front of a room that had paid $5,000 a seat, somebody simply refused to play along, and Meghan Markle had absolutely no idea what to do with her hands.
When will she learn? She just needs to go and stand and smile and avoid this awkwardness in front of banks of cameras.
And that is the version the wires ran. Here is the version the room saw. Victoria, British Columbia, Friday night. Purple carpet, black tie, $5,000 a seat, $20,000 if you wanted the whole weekend. 40 years of one man's charity for families whose children are waiting on a transplant. His hometown, his last ever gala, sold out. Everybody who paid was already inside and seated when 2 people nobody had announced came up the carpet. Of course they did.
As she has been for the last 10 years. And unfortunately, performances like this are becoming more and more grating on the public day after day. And Meghan Markle would be so much better served to not wear a toga that looks like she has a dirty diaper and instead actually embrace her vain, vapid, and shallowness.
When have those two ever walked into a room that was already looking somewhere else? And here's the thing about that night that nobody in the mainstream press will type out loud. She did not attend that gala. She produced it. Within minutes, she was arranging the group for photographs. She was filming herself walking through a corridor of musicians. She was pulling Harry into shot, laughing into a lens, narrating her own arrival, and standing in the photo line long past the point where a guest is supposed to smile, nod, and clear off.
Harry's awkward smile really said it all. It's like he's looking very unhappy. Look at that. And then he realizes, oh gosh, she is recording me again. I better smile.
A guest turns up and supports the night. She spent that night hunting for moments. And the man whose name was on the foundation stood there waiting for his own. And there is a whisper going around out of Canada that she asked to be alone on that carpet. Alone. At somebody else's 40th anniversary. How convenient. Every second of that footage behaves like a woman who had been promised the room. She hadn't, and she was about to find out.
I have to be honest, like, the imagery that Meghan chose to put out, I don't think she realizes that we just totally see through her act now, like this with the sexy bagpipe troupe.
I love bagpipes. Oh my gosh.
This is great. So where mine?
Yeah.
First, the clip that has the whole internet howling. She walks a corridor lined with pipers and drummers, grown men in full dress who have played for actual heads of state. And she goes along that line giggling. That laugh, The one that starts about a second late every time. The one that never once reaches her eyes. Turns to the room and announces that her husband loves bagpipes. Her husband, who is standing 2 feet away from her, with a mouth of his own. He is right there. He could say it himself.
My husband loves bagpipes. And you gotta wonder, who is this poor soul forced to carry this camera and film her giggling at herself, her horrible hairstyle here, and her dirty diaper toga? Who is in charge of filming this? Every time Meghan laughs, I just can't help but think of a really bad actress attempting to laugh. Laughing authentically is harder than crying. And I kind of believe that in a way, because you can definitely look fake laughing. Crying might be a little bit easier to pull off because you just have to bring the emotion. But laughter is a bit hard, and Meghan looks like she's acting badly.
This is the one with the Scottish blood, the Balmoral Summers, the regiment, and she takes the sentence off him and delivers it herself, in the third person, to a room of strangers, like a woman narrating a film about her own life in which everybody else has been cast as scenery, and somebody was walking backwards down that corridor to film it. Sit with that. A human being, employed, walking backwards, holding a camera, catching the giggle.
Meghan even went out of her way to wear a Canadian designer for her gown. And they're very much trying to, again, he's trying to do that buddy-buddy thing with the bagpipers. They're just very much trying to emulate this life that they left. And everything looks increasingly strained because they look ridiculous. They're acting ridiculous. They left, they chose to leave. And there are perfectly legitimate ways for them to have somewhat of a public profile, but not constantly looking like they're trying to recreate what they lost. But they can't do it.
This is the couple that sued half of Fleet Street over privacy. 6 years of lawyers, 6 years of speeches about intrusion, and the woman cannot get from the car to the table without a staff member filming her doing it. Funny that, isn't it? Then Harry started talking to the Pipers himself, genuinely engaged, genuinely interested, facing them, having his own conversation, and there she is, hovering behind his shoulder, still inside the shot, waiting for the frame to come back to her. You could see it on her. How dare he? This was supposed to be about me.
How tacky. Not bidding for the gala, not helping towards fundraising, but filming your place sittings for social media content. I swear she's mentally stuck at the age of 12, just like Harry. And I mean, I felt this, look at this, when she was awkwardly dancing and actually hollering during an Adam Levine performance, just making sure everyone's actually watching her. But no one was watching her.
It got worse inside. There is one thing that woman genuinely cannot survive, and it is a room that has stopped looking at her. So Adam Levine gets up to play, and Meghan Markle does what Meghan Markle does. Up she gets, and she starts to dance. Not on a dance floor, there wasn't one. At a seated black-tied dinner, in front of a stage, blocking the view of the people directly behind her. People who had paid $5,000 a seat to watch the act, not to watch the back of her head.
David Foster and Catherine knew if that they invited Harry and Meghan, they would get more headlines, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got, and that's all they cared about. Harry and Meghan have nothing to offer except for that royal piece, and they exploit it quite a bit, but it has a limited bandwidth, and they're just there for kind of the shock value. They're not really there because anybody actually them there. And the performance with the bagpipers is just the worst example of that.
The shimmy, that little seal clap, and the looking round to check who is watching, and Harry. Oh, Harry, sitting there with the face of a man being read his own charges. Every viewer who has watched that clip has come to the same conclusion, and thousands of them have said it in the same 3 words. He told her to sit down, and there's more of it than that. Footage from that table shows her leaning at him over and over, urging him to get up, get up, get up. And for once in his entire married life, the man just sat there and did not move.
If you pay close attention here, you will hear her shouting and screaming. But this is really interesting because people were saying that she was arguing with Harry. Nobody was paying attention to them. They were on the side table. They were not in the middle of they were not in the main table, in the center table. They were on the side. And nobody was paying attention to Meghan Markle. And we know that Meghan Markle can't live without attention. All the cameras need to be on her. And she was arguing with Harry, asking him to get up and sing, to make a scene,
Let that land. He would rather look rude in front of a room full of donors than get up and be part of her show. The most obedient husband in the Western Hemisphere finally found his limit, and it was a shimmy at a children's charity.
This is just another example in a long line of examples of Meghan Markle's horrible ability as a creative and producer.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, the whole promotional campaign was super bad.
Now back to the carpet and to the 90 seconds. They had already had their moment. That's the part people keep missing. The cameras had them. The arrival was documented. The frock was photographed. The presence was established. That is exactly the point where guests move down the line and the hosts step up for their own clean shot. They didn't move. The host and his wife had to come and stand with them instead, since the pair of them would not clear the frame. On the one night in 40 years, the man was entitled to have that carpet to himself.
Meghan's problem is that she has this small, minor group of people who adore her and think she walks on water. And then the rest of the public is like, you're lying. You're not being real here. And she just can't help herself. She has zero self-awareness.
And then the arm comes out, across, slightly down, indicating a spot on the floor, not a wave, not a handshake left hanging, whatever some of the papers are telling you. Every woman watching this who has ever sat through an awards night knows that gesture on site. It is the arm of the girl at the side of the stage who shows the winner where to put her feet. She is blocking. She's staging.
I think she genuinely thinks we don't see through it at this point, but there is no more fake person in the world than Meghan Markle. She looks incredibly, and the more she tries to emulate warmth, the less you believe in. And of course, David Foster has been in the entertainment industry for years. I'm sure he knows how to stand on a red carpet. Meghan Markle doesn't need to help him.
That woman is running the shot at a stranger's farewell. The absolute audacity of the woman. And the host of the evening walks straight past it. No hello, not a glance. No warmth, no pause, no little Duchess moment. He goes past that hand like it isn't in the air, finds his own place, and stands there radiating something the whole internet has now decided is fury. And she starts fiddling with her dress. That's the tell. Watch her hands.
And there was lots of other cringe connected to this event, including the copying of William and Catherine's fashion. As the veil between us pointed out, well, it appears that Zarkle isn't the only one cosplaying a member of the royal family. Zarkle wore a cape dress like Princess Catherine, and Harry wore a velvet jacket like Prince William. How pathetic are these two?
The second she realized the room had not gone the way she'd staged it, the hands went straight to the fabric, the same thing William did with his scarf that time when he'd rather adjust an item of clothing for 11 seconds than turn and speak to her. She has now been dodged in public, on camera, by a Prince of Wales and by a Canadian record producer. Different men, different continents, identical solution. But here is what almost nobody covering this has bothered to tell you. That arm is not new. She has done it before.
Prince Harry quits the charity that he set up in honor of his mother in a massive win for Dr. Sophie Chandauka, a woke black woman who finally had enough with the bullying, with the relentless, inappropriate pursuits from both the Duke and his awful wife, Meghan Markle.
And the last woman who obeyed it lost everything. Florida, 2 years ago. A polo match, and not for a stranger's charity, for Harry's own, Sentebale, the thing he set up at 21 with the Prince of Lesotho, in memory of both their mothers, for children with HIV. Trophy presentation, Harry standing there, and next to him the chairwoman of his charity, Dr. Sophie Chandauka, born in Harare, corporate finance lawyer, an MBE in the late Queen's Honors List.
To be honest, it's a last resort. Really, what Prince Harry wanted to do was to eject me from the organization, and this went on for months. It went on for months through bullying, harassment. I have documentation.
Now, of course, Harry is trying to present himself the victim of all of this.
And Meghan arrives, and out comes that arm. She indicates where she'd rather that woman was, not beside Harry, thank you, beside her, and the chairwoman of the charity ducks underneath the trophy, in front of a field of donors, to go and stand where a guest has put her.
I want to show you what happened on stage, because it's not Dr. Sophie Chandauka who causes an issue, it is Meghan Markle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tucker, for putting on such a great day here at Crown Polo Club. Again, a big thank you to all those who provided horses.
You know, why not just let the lady stand where she wanted to stand? Is that so bad? Because Meghan is always trying to control the narrative.
Then somebody in Montecito wanted the clip tidied up, so a request came through Harry's people. Put out a public statement, defend the Duchess. She said no. She was not, in her words, setting a precedent by which the charity became an extension of the Sussex PR machine.
It's going to really affect their fundraising. It's going to affect the branding. And these children are going to be the ones who are going to pay the price for that, I believe.
And then, she says, came a message from the prince himself. Explain yourself. The people who saw it reached for 2 words. Not unpleasant, imperious. 11 months later, that charity was in flames. Trustees gone, both royal patrons gone, harassment and bullying at scale, she said, in front of every camera in Britain. And this March, his own charity took him to the High Court over it. His grandmother's honors list carried that woman's name. His wife pointed at the floor.
Sussexes only will talk to people who repeat their own narrative.
Yes.
And who they can control. So the idea that you could get the truth from the Sussexes is contradiction.
So why does a woman like that keep turning up to other people's charity nights at all? Tom Bower has spent 4 years and 2 books answering that. And last spring, he published the number that ends the argument. £1.15 million came into Sentebale in the early years. Concerts, a documentary, a late princess's name on every invitation, orphans in southern Africa dying of AIDS. 84,000 reached them. 84,000 out of 1.15 million. I sat and put that through a calculator twice, convinced I had dropped a decimal point. 7%, 7 pence in the pound reached a child with HIV, and a chunk of the rest went on a 4-bedroom villa with staff and private school fees for 3 children, not the orphans' children.
Harry is pretty unintelligent. He's very uneducated. His interests are very limited. Emotionally, he is more unstable than his father, and I don't think he is able to rationally work out his own position in this world.
The directors and Bower's finding on the years that followed is worse. Harry simply stopped going, did not set foot in that part of Africa for something like 5 years. And the reason, in Bower's account, is the most Sussex sentence ever committed to paper. Meghan didn't like Africa. That's it. The wife wouldn't have it, so the children in Lesotho went 5 years without the man whose face was still on all the fundraising.
Meghan Markle, as usual, is asking for insane demands. And again, she made it all about herself. But she doesn't care, does she? What else can we expect from Meghan Markle? You will see that the body language is brutal. There is no eye contact whatsoever. And Harry, of course, knew that he messed up, that he should have moved along. But did he? No, because he's a coward. He's a coward, and he knows that people will always forgive him, especially now after he met with the king.
He'd got bored, Bower says. Bored of the polo, bored of having to turn up and be photographed to bring the money in, and when Chandauka tried to save the thing, by Bower's account, he did everything he could to sabotage her. The line Bower lands on is the coldest thing anybody has said about that man. Harry, he says, is more interested in his reputation than in the people who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of his charity. The casualties, he says, are the Africans. As for their own foundation, his verdict there is flat. It is not a charity. It's a commercial organization. Bezos gives away hundreds of millions. They give away a few thousand, the brass neck of it.
But he is prepared to put that ahead of not just his own charity, but of charities altogether, because this commission says the damage being done from Harry here could actually stop people trusting charities altogether. His mother would be ashamed.
And put that beside the woman they never stop invoking, as Bower does. And it is the cruelest thing in his whole body of work. Diana. Say what you like about her. People did, for years. She worked. Bower's own summary is that she had amazing status, that she looked beautiful, that she had terrific poise, that she worked very hard at being a royal, and that she was genuinely empathetic with a great many sick people, day after day. Hospices, hospitals, AIDS wards in 1987, when half of Fleet Street thought you could catch it off a handshake, and she took her gloves off and held a dying man's hand in front of the cameras and changed how an entire country thought about a disease. That is the job when somebody means it.
In Meghan's mind, she is Diana.
Yes.
I mean, Diana Spencer is Meghan Spencer. And that was all part of her imagination, that somehow she could inherit the glow of her dead mother-in-law. So I think that was another reason for Charles to say no.
Now Bower on the daughter-in-law who has spent 7 years wearing that woman's jewelry. Meghan, he says, would never go and spend day after day in hospices and hospitals and with the poor. She only wanted to go and party with Elton John in the south of France. Read it twice. That's the whole difference between them in one sentence. One of them sat with the dying. The other one turns up where the cameras and the yachts are, wears his mother's earrings to do it, and calls the result a legacy.
What Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was chaired as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty and all the values of the Queen and all the tradition and 1,000 years of history.
She has taken the single most powerful humanitarian image of the last 50 years, that woman in that ward, holding that hand, and she has hollowed it out and worn it to a gala as a costume.
I think that's the whole issue, that they were globally, and they are globally known, but because of the way they behaved in the last 4 or 5 years, and as the price of betrayal, their reputation and their status and their fortunes are crumbling.
Which brings us to the honest reason those two were in Victoria at all. They are not getting the invitations anymore. No Met Gala. No award shows, not the rooms they think they're owed. Hollywood has stopped ringing. Bauer was asked this summer where the pair of them end up, and he answered it in 2 words: desperation and failure. They've run out of ideas, he said. The finances are in jeopardy, and he described the two of them effectively crawling back to Britain on bended knees, pathetically grateful if the king agrees to see them. On her, he was colder still. No real income anymore. The Netflix is finished, there's no great podcast, no money being generated, and he cannot see where she goes next. She is, in his word, finished.
In some ways, he does despise his wife. I mean, we saw that on the recent Middle Eastern tour when he was constantly rejecting her attempt at public displays of affection because he knows that what she's doing is like ownership. It's not about love, it's not about affection, it's about ownership, and it's about showing the world who is in control, and he can't stand that.
So a Canadian charity gala on an island most of Hollywood could not find on a map gets a yes. Of course it does. And even that came with a sting. The claim doing the rounds out of Canada is that the foundation covered the whole trip. Flights, hotel, the lot. That one is a whisper, and I'll leave it a whisper. But here is what is not a whisper. 2 days on, not one newspaper on this earth has bothered to ask whether they paid for those $5,000 seats, whether they bid on a single lot, or whether they gave 1 penny of their own. Nobody asked. Make of that what you will. Then Saturday came, and Saturday tells you everything.
It doesn't work for you to shoulders back, breasts out, headlights going, and try to look as bitchy as possible.
There was a second event, free, open to anyone. Thousands of ordinary Victoria families down at the harbor, a drone show, fireworks, 40 years of a man's work handed back to the town that made him. No carpet, no rope line, not a single photographer penned up waiting on an entrance. Not one photograph of them. No report, no sighting, not a syllable on their own social media. A whole weekend in that city. And the only part either of them appeared in was the part with cameras pointed at it. And all the time they were doing it, that same province was burning. More than 20,000 Canadians driven out of their homes by wildfire. British Columbia declaring a state of emergency, and a Duchess with the world's press in her pocket and a phone in her hand. 20,000 people, not one word.
They are photoshopping, editing, putting a lot of filters on Meghan Markle's pictures. This picture was taken by a bystander or whoever was there behind the scenes backstage. And of course, you can see all the wrinkles here. It was pretty dark, the picture, so I had to make it brighter. That's all I did. But you can see Meghan Markle's disheveled hair. She has a bun. She has like a bunch of hairs sticking out. You can see the wrinkles on her face. And look at that armpit. She would have the resources. If you're gonna wear a bun, make sure that you put some Vaseline or something there, but she do not look nice.
So what did the world get for the weekend? A selfie. One video of a pudding, a giggle in a corridor, posted the next morning to millions of people and captioned with the Canadian flag and a red heart, and not one single word. Nothing about the foundation, nothing about the cause, the families, the 14.5 million raised, not a syllable about a child waiting on a transplant, and not a syllable about 20,000 people packing their cars. A flag and a heart. And then people started going through the post itself, and they found the most perfect thing that has ever appeared on that account. Her own brand had liked her own picture, her company liking her, on her own page. You couldn't make it up.
It is unbelievable to me that Harry has been so blinded by this woman, and he is not even putting his mother's legacy before, his wife and the things that she's doing that are so detrimental to this good work.
There's the whole diagnosis in one tap, free of charge. No audience in her head, only a mirror. And when the mirror doesn't clap fast enough, she logs into the other account and claps for herself. Tell me in the comments what you would have done if that arm came out at you on your own night after 40 years of it. Give this a like if you want the receipts nobody else is pulling, and subscribe. There's a great deal more coming. She walked up that carpet to run the evening. 90 seconds later, a man who has spent his life around famous women looked straight through her, took his own place, and left her fiddling with her dress in front of a sold-out room. She came to direct. She got dismissed, and the only person who filmed it was the poor girl she'd hired.